Is through Tyler. How do you know Tyler from Anti-Hero?
So I'm going to go ahead on record and take credit for the Anti-Hero podcast. That's like, this is my doing.
So you got to ask yourself, why do you want to do this? What keeps you motivated to stay proactive and get bad guys off the street?
The facts is a big cannon against a little tiny gun of opinions, because we've all heard people give us their opinions.
Let's talk about how easy it is to get narcotics in this country. Once they're in this country, anywhere within 2 days, the drugs will be in our cities.
Because we know knowledge is power.
I remember Matt told me that, do you guys check out my boy? And that's when I started following you. I don't even remember how long ago. And then I listened to the podcast for a while, but I stopped. So I think I listened to some old ones, and then now
I've been so inconsistent with it
Okay.
over the last, I don't know, 6 years.
Okay.
Where it's like I do it for a little while, and then it's a pain in the ass, like, to stay consistent. Like, sometimes people just flake.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it easy could have been like, hey man, sorry I can't make it, kid stuff. You
Yeah.
will fly, So
I try to keep it as one a month is simple, and then the ones that I'm doing on Zoom. So we have a guy that's producing them, like these. But when I do it, and we can cut any of this out, I don't know, but like I just figured to get all set up.
Yeah.
The Zoom ones I'll do, and I'll add as like a bonus, but I keep one a month. So every the first of the month, that's guaranteed, so people don't anticipate like, oh shit, he's gonna have one every week, and then all of a sudden I'm like now down to one a month. So it's like one a month is good, and if you get a bonus one, cool. Especially with every travel to teach, trying to do this. I like it. Like, this is fun for me. Teaching's fun to me too, but I don't know. I like this. Maybe this is new. So it's like, so this is cool to me right now. But I don't know. Teaching's fun, and then the job is fun. Just gets tedious. So you're trying to do podcasts. You're trying to always have good material to teach, and then I'm still a cop. That's how I get paid. So.
What are you teaching?
Interdiction.
Oh, okay. That's the highway stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I kind of make it universal, because when I first started, my first 5 years I worked in patrol. So I make it more like just interdiction in general. Like, I talk briefly, maybe about 30 minutes about city stuff, but people want to see stopping cars and pulling kilos. They don't want to see me stopping cars and finding warrants. And so I just talk about how it's all universal, and it's all, you can apply it in any setting. But
Anthony Shefferly is a police officer since 2007, currently on SWAT with experience in narcotics, gang, violent crimes, and patrol. He holds a BA and MS in psychology, also played college football at the University of St. Francis. As a business owner, he ran CrossFit Tactical Strength from 2013 to 2021 and founded Heroic Industries LLC in 2020, an online platform for first responders, military focus on improving physical and mental health. A father of 4 with a bilateral hip replacement, Anthony is a CrossFit regional professional athlete and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu blue belt. Heroic Industries provides a resource for weight loss, muscle gain, and functional strength.
Now, his life fell apart, and we've been taking reports with him, prostitutes ripping him off, and other prostitutes at his house. Holy shit, man!
dude, that is fucking nuts.
It is nuts. It is totally nuts.
Was he married, get divorced or something, or
he was, I think, divorced years and years and years ago. But yeah, he was single since I've known him. I think he was already divorced. I think, but I always thought he was a little weird. I was like, I got a weird vibe from him. It turned out it was accurate.
was he able to make this habit since he started a career, and then as soon as the career's gone, he retired? He's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's about most addicts. You see more with booze. Well, we see more with booze than anything. We're their life's in shambles, but they still maintain their career as law enforcement with it. Damn, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
How many years you been on the job?
17.
Okay, so you
17 as of last month. Yeah.
What day?
26th.
All right, I got hired October 23rd, 2017 or 2007.
Okay, so we almost the exact
that's
same.
What I'm saying.
Almost the exact same.
That's crazy. Are you gonna do 20 and done?
We'll see. It depends on what I got going on. I had my CrossFit gym for about 9-ish years, and the plan was always all right, once I'm making at least as much, then I have options, right? I can go
Mhm.
20, I can move right into it. But after I sold that, after 2020, 2021, now it's like, okay, I don't have that revenue. So now what am I going to do? So now it's kind of like, a little bit more up in the air.
Law enforcement, first responders, military veterans, we see things and put our body through stuff that no one else in society has to deal with. We are good at coping with it mentally, but it still takes a toll on our body. Hormone replacement therapy is a great way to keep your body functioning as it should. And I'm not talking about walking around looking like you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just the typical body that we need to function in society with mental health, mental clarity, performance in all aspects of life. I have several family members and friends that have turned to hormone replacement therapy in order to produce a better life for themselves and their family. We are thrilled to partner with HPTRT, veteran and first responder owned company that knows what we are looking for and what we need. They actually care about the first responders, they actually care about veterans. They know what we're going through, and they are willing to help us in any facet of life, not only with the hormone replacement therapies, but also medical doctors that have partnered with major pharmacies across the country and willing to do any type of telehealth that you need. If you're feeling sick and you want to lay on your couch and do a teleconference, they will send medications to major pharmacies that they have partnered with. So if you need any type of medical assistance, from hormone replacement therapy all the way up until you just feel like shit and need some telehealth, HPTRT is the place to go. Use code RED, R-E-D,
to get 10% off.
Thank you, Anthony, for joining us, or me, I guess. Mike's not here today, on Beyond the Barrel podcast. I'll let him do the introduction like always, and then, we'll just talk about his life. He obviously already had a CrossFit gym at one point, so we can start there and we can backtrack, or however you want to do it, man. Just tell us about you.
Well, I guess let's, we can start there. So Anthony Shefferly, I've been on a police department in Northeast Indiana, trying to leave things out.
I'm good.
But,
I do it all the time.
You can do the math and figure that one out. For like 17 years, I've been, I've done, 2-3 years undercover narcotics. Actually, probably 2, maybe a little less than 2. Did about 6 some years in gang violent crimes, like a uniform detective position.
Okay.
And then have done a lot of time in operations, just road patrol, and then most of my time, we have a part-time SWAT team. I've been on that for about 14 years.
With the part-time SWAT team, do you, whatever your assignment is, and then on calls or whatever, and then you have like a training day, but the majority is just, is that like an overtime gig, or is it like certain days you're assigned to SWAT stuff?
It's both.
Okay.
It's like we're busy enough to be a full-time team, but they don't want to allocate the manpower to it. I'm sure it sounds familiar to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But so like we have 3 training days a month, and then we have 1 week a year that we go for training down to Camp Atterbury. We spend a week down there, shooting guns and using the ranges and all that. And then everything that we have happen on our shift is shift work. We just are pulled from our assignment. We go do SWAT stuff, and then if we're off, then it's overtime.
Okay.
So yeah.
But if you're working, you're in, say there's a SWAT call, you're allowed to leave the shift.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's not bad then.
Yeah.
We have where I work, smaller department, but we had a multi-agency, and I was on it for like 5 years, and it was all based on overtime. You still work normal assignment. On calls, we had 1 training day a month, and then 1 week of the year we would go to I forget what it was. It used to be Blackwater out in like Iowa, Northeast Iowa, Northwest Iowa, or Illinois by Iowa. I think it's like point something now, but it used to be Blackwater's training site. It was a good time. SWAT team kind of changed a little bit, where we used to take indoors all the time and stuff, and that was fun, actually chasing bad guys. And now it's a lot more of secured call out.
Yeah.
Similar.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the tactics. It's crazy to say I've been on the team for 14 years now. It's like
that's a long time.
But I've seen tactics change, go from like when I first got on, like it was still like really old school, like dynamic entry, running through the house, like I mean, we would talk about clearing corners, but I remember being in the back of the stick as a new guy going, holy shit, like this is just like kick in the door, throw a flashbang, and just try to get as deep as you can, as fast as you can through the house. And it was like throwing people down on the ground, like people would not have time to react, and it was like shock and awe. And then the pendulum swung the other way where it was like, all right, breach and delay, call everybody out, and then we would take forever outside calling people out to the point where it's like, this is a little ridiculous the other way. And now we're kind of in the middle somewhere where it's like we're using the tactics for what they are, which is just a tool for a specific job. So it's dynamic when it needs to be dynamic, and it's static when it needs to be static, and it makes a lot more sense. So.
No, yeah, that's kind of when I got a dog, and it was like dog interdiction SWAT team, and like dog and interdiction go together. SWAT team was kind of the odd one out. It was just a lot of them, So I stepped away, but when I was stepping away, it was a lot more like that very slow, like surround, call people out, and there wasn't a lot of like entry until you assumed everyone was out. We had a lot of like, it was kind of frustrating too, because you usually get called out on holidays when people are like suicidal and stuff,
Right.
And it's like freezing out, and I'm spending time away from my family, and so I give the SWAT teams a lot of credit and admiration because of that aspect of it. But man, like it's taxing on your family. You usually get called out on holidays, and it's shitty ass weather, and someone that's having some type of psychiatric episode, and it's frustrating. It can be frustrating, anyways.
Yeah. Well, and then when the part of the career that I was in where it was like, dude, we're standing outside for 10, 15 minutes calling everybody out at least. And like you said, it's fucking cold or hot or whatever. And it's like, well, how long can we stand out here in the elements, whatever they are, and be good for entry?
Right.
Like there's a trade-off with it.
For sure. So you're from Indiana, grew up, born and raised? Or?
No, I'm actually from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I grew up there, went to high school there, and then ended up getting a football scholarship down in Indiana and played for St. Francis with Mike and with Matt Lou.
Yeah. That's a small world. It's
Yeah.
interesting. And then the reason we hooked up is through Tyler. How do you know Tyler from Anti-Hero?
So I'm going to go ahead on record and take credit for the Anti-Hero podcast. That's like, this is my doing.
All right.
Well, no, I did a podcast with, I can't remember, with Greg Anderson. So Greg Anderson is a cop, or he was a cop, out at Port of Seattle, I think is the name of it. Okay. And he ended up making a post during COVID about like, hey, cops, you can't be violating people's constitutional rights about masks and whatever, like all the overstepping and overreaching that.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So he got so great story. I mean, like he made that post in uniform and basically just said, follow the Constitution, do your job, right?
Yeah.
And totally accurate, totally true. I saw the post. I didn't see anything wrong with it. His command told him, that's a good post, man. Like stand up on this stuff. And then the next day they said, I know you said it was good, but you need to take it down or you're going to get fired. And he was basically like, fire me. And they did. So he got shit canned. And like when I talked to him, he was like, it's the best thing that ever happened to me was getting out of that job. But anyway, so I did a podcast with Greg, and I think Tyler heard that one and was like, dude, I need to start a podcast. So there you go. I started the Anti-Hero podcast.
Perfect. I was on Tyler's like, I don't know, probably within the first 10.
Yeah.
He had me on. We hooked up just through some law enforcement stuff, and I bought a couple of his shirts, and I think that's how he reached out to me. And when I started mine, he was like the second one. I'm like, well, payback now.
Yeah.
With that, and then anyone in your family in law enforcement, or are you the only one? Or?
No, man, I'm the only one. My dad, so all my aptitudes and everything you take in high school, like, you should be this, you should be this. Like, my aptitudes all pointed towards, like, law enforcement, military, protective services, like, all of it. And I was like, well, what do you think about, I asked my dad, like, looking at colleges and stuff, what do you think about law enforcement? He was like, you're too smart to be a cop. And I was like, okay, I guess, like, steered me directly away from it. No military. I was like, well, I guess I'll just go into education. So I went into secondary education because my dad was a teacher. Okay. That was what I knew. And I was like, well, I guess I'll go into teaching and coaching and play football because I love football. And, that's all I really cared about doing. It was like just playing football. So
it's interesting because that's kind of where when I left high school, I didn't know what I was going to do. But then I went to college, and my original major was education. I wanted to be a teacher because I wanted to coach. I wanted to do things like active and be around that. And then I took some electives that were in criminal justice that kind of piqued my interest. And then September 11th happened. What year did you graduate?
College or high school?
High school.
2000.
Okay. I graduated in 2001. So it was my first semester. And my electives were some psychology and criminal justice. And then that happened and completely changed my perspective and went down the law enforcement route.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of the same story with me. First, I got into a classroom because University of St. Francis in Fort Wayne has a really good teacher education program, and the best thing that they do is they get you into a classroom right away, right? So you can see like, hey, this is what it's like. And like, I really like the coaching aspect of things, but when I saw like how teachers are, and it totally makes sense now with like the left-wing indoctrination of all schooling and curriculum and all that, like I didn't know it at the time, but I was looking at it, and I was looking at like teachers that I could not stand. I couldn't stand the teachers. And I was like, I cannot be around these people. I will lose my mind.
So while you're in there, like, I guess like learning how to be a teacher,
Yeah.
you couldn't handle.
I wouldn't be able to work with the population of teachers. I was like, I cannot be in this environment. Like something about it, I was like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it was just the culture of the school that I was in, but I was like, I don't like it. I don't like the structure. I don't like the people. I like the kids. I like the students. I like teaching, but I could not deal with it. And like, I look at the stuff my dad's been through, the stuff my brother's a teacher, my sister's a teacher, like they all went that route. And I'm like, dude, I'd go nuts. Like I would have a mental breakdown.
How many siblings do you have?
4. So I got 1 brother and 3 sisters. I'm the oldest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then 2 are teachers. What's the other one do?
Let's see, my youngest sister's a teacher. My brother, who's right behind me, he's a teacher. And then my sister, my older sister or not older, the next oldest one in the mix. She's actually, what is she now? I think she's a major in the Air Force.
Oh, that's cool.
She's a physical therapist.
Oh, okay.
So she's a PT.
Yeah.
And but she's got some big time rank. I probably said it wrong. She usually says this. So and then my other sister's a nurse.
Nice. All right.
So.
And then are they all local?
They're all over, man.
Okay.
One's in Milwaukee. One's in my youngest sister's. It's actually pretty cool. She bailed and went out to Wyoming, so she lives way out west. She loves it.
I taught a class in Wyoming, August, I think. First time I ever went there, and if you look at my phone on Zillow, I'm like looking for land because I loved it.
Yeah.
I don't know about my wife liking it so much, but I'm like, man, I might just buy this land without you knowing, and then maybe one day go set up like a house out there. It's absolutely beautiful. It's like untouched wilderness. It's super cool.
It's a different world.
Yeah. So football, only sport you played in high school, or did you?
No, I did football, wrestling, and track, and then in college I did football and track, and I was like marginal at both. So.
What position did you play?
I was a running back. I started at running back, and then they kind of, you know how it goes sometimes. They jack the offense around. It's like, well, you don't really fit anywhere. So it's kind of like now if you're a fullback on a team, it's like, dude, you don't have a home. Like, what are we going to do with you? So I jumped over to linebacker my senior year just to try to do something, and I was a terrible linebacker. Like, I didn't play linebacker since like sophomore year in high school.
How was Matt Luke? Because Matt Luke played like a slot position, right?
He was a stud, man. He was an All-American tight end. Yeah.
What happened to that guy? You see him now, boy, and that's I mean, he's lost a lot of weight. I mean, he's still in shape, but he's like, he's lost a lot of weight. But he's had so many surgeries. I bet he has like 4 knee surgeries and 2 shoulder surgeries.
Really?
Like, yeah, poor old man. Like,
man, must have been something at St. Francis. So I've had both my hips replaced.
Damn it.
I got a screw in my foot, shoulder scope, knee scope, elbow scope. I got to probably have a neck surgery here soon. So
wow.
Yeah, shit takes a toll.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at it, you playing, I don't know when you started, but at minimum, say 8 years of some high impact, and back in the day, they didn't have like, I don't know what concussions were. It's like give you smelling salt, get right back out there. I only played in high school, but I mean, like I could only imagine even at a smaller college, the next level is probably 10 times.
The hitting now, even small college football is such a big step up from high school.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because that's what I told, like my son's a junior, and he's looking at going to play college football, and I'm like, well, you just got to know that even at D3, like the lowest level, like it's a high school all-star team. You know, like especially the starters. Mm-hmm. Like the starters on a D3 college team are the best kids from their high school, like without a doubt. Yeah. So you're going into an all-star team. So the hitting and the speed is going to be better and faster. And like back in like the late '90s, early 2000s, like it was still like there was no rules about defenseless receivers. There was no rules about head-to-head collisions. Like we wanted to do that.
Yeah. I mean. Even in the high school level, how many people, just like headhunting on a regular basis. It's like to deplete someone, like
that was what you wanted to do.
Deplete someone that wasn't paying attention was like, that's where it was at. Like,
Yeah.
you wanted to get that on film and I don't know, blow people up. It's
Oh, yeah.
crazy to think about now, but back then I guess it was, I don't know, it was fun back then. Not knowing the ramifications later in life.
It's still fun now. You just get kicked out of games.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Boot your ass.
Because it's like, I guess, Division One, it's a full game, right? So if you before halftime, you get that two, and then the next two, and the next game.
Yeah, it's very discretionary for college, I think, for D1, because if they call targeting, I think they can boot you for that game, and then you could lose the next game too.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's probably better off that way, but it's not as fun.
I don't know. You can see that, like some of those head-to-heads, it's like you can only mitigate stuff so much, right? So like you can see some of them are like, I can't remember. I think it was Colorado game a few weeks ago that I was watching. I was like, this kid tried to pull back and he couldn't do it, and so he went head-to-head and they were like gone.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this kid's worked his ass off, and now
agree.
he's losing 2 games because of physics. Like he wasn't trying. You know?
Yeah, no, I completely agree there. I feel, like the speed alone, and then running offensive players like sliding, and they're trying to mitigate that, and then he's trying to pull back because he was probably like going for his hips. All of a sudden, this dude slides, and it's like, I agree with you.
You can actually make the correlation to like what they should do and what they could do is equate it to like force science. Like, all right, I see a threat, I'm reacting, I'm drawing, I'm firing, dude turns around and I put 4 in his back. Like, it doesn't mean that I shot him in the back, like I fired, and then the reaction time and the delay and all of that, like I tried, I did it right, but it looks like I did it wrong potentially,
Yeah.
So you could make the same argument for that, like head-to-head stuff. Like I couldn't react fast enough. I tried, I just couldn't put the brakes on, and then by the time I pulled back, it was like too late.
Yeah, I completely agree there.
Yeah.
That makes that's a good analogy. Any of your siblings play sports, or were you an athlete? Dad an athlete?
Yeah, my dad played where did he play? He played college ball at Grand Valley State here in Michigan, and then he played hockey here at Grand Valley too. I think it was like a club team though.
Okay.
And then all my siblings played sports.
Anyone else get scholarships, or you the only one?
No, my brother, he played until he blew his shoulder out. He played at Carthage College, D3 school in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty cool place. And then my sisters, my one sister's a nurse. She actually walked on to Mercyhurst for lacrosse and earned a scholarship there. And
That's cool.
I think that's D2. They play some tough schools.
Where's that school?
Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lacrosse do you guys have lacrosse, or did you guys have lacrosse in Michigan?
They had lacrosse my senior year, but I was already like deep into track, so I was like, I ain't doing it.
I don't even think we have lacrosse in Indiana. By us, anyways.
It is. I think IHSA has that as a girls' sport now.
Okay.
I think, but boys is still a club. My son plays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same with hockey. We don't. Right?
No, we don't have that.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to me. Growing
That's
up in
good.
Michigan.
Yeah. You ever play hockey, like, or just?
Nah, just pond hockey.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, you grew up in Michigan, like everybody skates.
Okay.
So it's funny. I took my kids back home. This was probably a few years ago now, and we went skating on one of the rinks over Christmas break. And I had to tell my son, I was like, "Listen, like everybody skates here. This is not like Indiana, man." He was like, "Whatever." I go, "No, even the girls skate. Like the girls skate, and they'll be on hockey skates, running around like crazy." And then we go in there, the rink is packed, and like there's all these people zipping around. I said, "I told you, man."
That's crazy. Different. I mean, how close we are. How close I am. It's a different world. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to that.
Yep.
Interesting. And then so obviously you didn't get hired, or did you get hired right out of college?
No, so kind of backtrack a little bit. So you mentioned 9/11.
Oh, my bad, yeah.
So like after deciding I didn't want to be a teacher in 9/11, my uncle actually died on September 11th. So so my mom's side's all from out east. My uncle was an engineer for the Port Authority, and he was in the blast in '93, so he knew how to like set up the command post, work with the fire department. So he stuck around, and that ended up being the South Tower at the bottom.
Damn. Sorry about that.
So between me not wanting to be a teacher and that, I was like, all right, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like you go from being a college kid, just caring about football and like, how am I going to just play football and stay with this game, to all of a sudden, like there's a whole world of shit going on. It's like, maybe I ought to be slightly aware. It's like, what? And then too, you feel like, especially if you lose somebody, it's like, you kind of understand how victims get, where they feel like powerless, where it's like, okay, like this bad thing happened, and it's like a plane fell out of the sky and killed one of my family members, and then it was a national tragedy on top of it. So you start feeling like the world's such a scary, awful place, right? Especially at like 19. So it's like, how do you reconstruct that, and how do you reclaim some control? Well, you just enter the fight, you know?
Yeah.
So like get into it. So I was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm either going to like join the military right now, or I'm going to change gears and like go into law enforcement or something like that. So I kicked that around for a while, and then ended up on law enforcement. So I stayed, finished playing football, finished my degree, and and I thought it was going to be a lot easier to get in. So I ended up like looking for jobs for, God, I went through like 12 different hiring processes. Because like after 9/11, everybody wanted to be a cop.
Yeah, so the same to me. Like after, I started right. So I started when I was 20. Before, so like right when you can apply, I applied at one department. Like I was like, all right, I'm gonna handpick where I want to go. And I showed up, and they were like, yeah, we're hiring 3, and there's like 400 people here. I'm like, well, this is not gonna go well. So I waited till towards the end of my degree, and then I started applying everywhere. And I'm not joking, I probably applied at 50 different departments, and it always, for whatever reason, the interview got me like every time. They're like, oh, you're on the hiring list, but you're number 11, and we're only taking 6.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, this sucks. So, and then as time went on, I saw people falling off. So you see the same group of people like every weekend testing,
Right.
and all of a sudden be like, oh, he must get hired somewhere. He must get hired somewhere. And then finally, the 4th time with my current agency, I got hired. But yeah, dude, it's a different world then to now. Like you can walk in, and as long as you
Are
able-bodied.
Are you high right now? No, you're in.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. It's crazy. It's just, it's.
We got dudes coming with on ankle monitors doing the fit test, and I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me! Like, well, just tell this guy to go home.
How?
I don't know, man. It's like
Because if he's a felon, he can't do that.
I don't know. Like, barely.
I don't see misdemeanors.
It's like, well, I guess we'll just weed this person out when the background check comes, but like, we'll let him this, so they let him do the fit test. Anyway, like I've seen that a couple of times.
Damn.
For real.
I guess,
but
it's not that bad. But it's like, it's still like, it's not as competitive as it was. It was just crazy.
No, I mean, like you said, like you have 400 for 3 spots. Like I remember trying out, and it was like, 1,500 or 2,000 for 30 spots.
Yes.
And it was like, okay, I'll do my best, So I ended up, I graduated my undergrad in 04, like winter of 04.
Still education, or did you change?
No, I was psychology. So
Okay.
I got my undergrad in psychology, started applying for departments, and just was applying everywhere in the Midwest. And then federally, I did the ATF hiring process, immigration hiring process. And that was right when they came up with ICE. Like ICE was like a new thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went through both of those. I think I applied for the FBI even. And then ended up like just falling back to where I was like the second or third time I tried out.
Okay.
For the agency, it was like right there in Fort Wayne. So
Similar path then.
Yeah.
I didn't go federally at all until after I was a cop, and I went through the whole process with the ATF. They offered me a position, and then they wanted me to move to Milwaukee and then start me out at the lowest. And my wife makes decent money, and I was like, dude, like you're paying me less than I am right now. Like I don't know. I was like, you're paying me less. My wife is gonna have to lose her job. Like I'm like, there's no way that I could even me look at it, let alone be able to sell to my wife that this is a great idea.
Right.
So I had to turn it down. If it was, I don't know, 5 or 7 years before they offered that, prior to them offering it to me, I would have probably taken it. But at that point,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting how timing goes, man. Because like I read the book Under and Alone when I was in college. And it's Billy Queen, I think is the guy. He was an ATF agent. He went deep under with the Mongols. It's a really cool book. But I read that and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to work for the ATF. So I was super pumped when I got into their hiring process and did pretty well. But then they had a big freeze where they didn't hire anybody. And then by the time I got into the academy where I'm at, I was like 4 weeks in and I get a phone call like, hey, your interview for that process you did 2 years ago is now back on, and you have to be in Columbus, Ohio for your field interview on Tuesday at 3 p.m. I was like, well, I can't do that. They were like, okay, well, here's your other date. And I said, I can't do that either. And they were like, okay, better luck next time. Click, we'll take you off the list. And I'm like, dude, I would have taken that job probably, but Yeah,
Yeah, no,
here we are.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, the reason I like the ATF is just because after being in the job and seeing their work compared to the other federal agencies, they're the most cop-like. I feel like, at least by
Yeah.
us, like they do the most. They do a lot of undercover stuff, but it's like on the street level. It's not a lot of like FBI white collar where you're sitting like like I feel like they do the most relatable job on the federal level to what normal cops
They
street cops
seem
do.
they seem the toughest, like they for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just
They all
like the
have
beards,
big old
Yeah.
beards. And if you look
Flannels
at it, it's like either you're a biker
Right.
or you work for the ATF. They
Yeah.
all just like kind of fit that same mold. Yeah, I agree. So, what did you? Any other jobs prior to being a cop? When you were out
Yeah,
of college?
so I worked for like our juvenile center, like
Okay.
a night shift, like basically, detention officer. Is horrible. And then I did about a year or two of what was I? It was technically like a pretrial case manager. So it was like a piss collector. It's like you come in, you get on probation. I got to check you in. We do your drug screens. It's like I hate this so much. It was just more motivating to like get out of doing this. This is not where I want to be.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, so you were already kind of in that path of law enforcement, but that's not. A
Yeah,
fun
it was
path.
no, it was more the corrections side of the system, and at the same time, it worked out well because I hated it, so it really motivated me to keep going with things, and I was getting my master's degree at the same time, so I ended up finishing my master's, and the timing, right? Like it was actually pretty good because I did all that I call it like purgatory, where I was like no man's land. Finished my master's. I didn't plan on finishing it, but I was like, well, I got nothing else to do. I may as well just start chipping away at this. And so I finished that, got into the process, got hired, started right after. So it was like boom, boom, boom.
Did you have any aspirations to go get your doctorate and go down that road of?
No, I didn't even have aspirations to get a master's. I just didn't have anything else to do.
Right.
And then when I saw my student loans, I was like, why the hell did I do this?
Especially on a cop salary, trying to pay that off.
Well, not even the cop salary.
Oh, yeah, just-
but I was in forbearance, so I guess it didn't hit me until I was already hired, and I was like, fuck. So,
Yeah, that sucks, man.
but yeah, no. But I'm kind of glad I did that because now at this point, 17 years later, it's like, well, what am I going to do on the back end of this? Well, I can use that and further my education. I'm getting to the point now where I'm almost thinking the value that I can add to the career is a lot less of me on the streets, and more like the experiences that I've had. I do a pretty good job articulating the experiences I've had, which has been a lot, and then putting the pieces together with the psychology and the sociology and the different put it all together, and I don't know. I feel like I do a pretty good job understanding that.
I love that aspect of one of my buddies is a doctor, psychologist, and we talk about things, and he'll even break down some of my traffic stops sometimes, and I know what I'm seeing, and I say it in very layman terms, and he gives it and I'm like, so it's kind of cool when he does do that, and if I go teach somewhere, and I show that video, so I'm like, this is what I see, and this is what it looks like to me, and then he gives it a clinical terminology of what's taking place, but yeah, me and him always talk about it, and I don't know, psychology is super interesting, especially in this field, and I feel if you have a good grasp of it, it kind of helps your communication skills too. If you understand what people are going, their reactions, what their body movements, all that, the psychology base, kind of helps see if people are going to do something bad, good, where their mindset is.
Yeah, it does. It kind of gives you a little bit of a heads up, a little bit of a red flags going off, right? And we all get those just being cops, but you can actually put a name behind it, not just and that helps for report writing afterwards, explaining what I saw. Because a lot of times, especially with new cops, you're well, why did you? I say you grabbed that dude. Now, why did you grab? When you're training, and they're I don't know. I just felt like I needed to. I'm like, okay, you're right, but you have to know how to explain that to people. When you throw somebody on their head, punch them in the face, and you're like, why'd you do that? Well, he ended up having a gun, right? So good job.
Yep.
But why? You have to explain it now. And when you have the psychology background, at least you can start to articulate I saw X, Y, Z. But the biggest thing I think with psych is really internally, you can keep yourself on check too during the same time. Because in the dynamics of it, if somebody comes in here and they're walking around they're armed or whatever, not only are we reacting to their psychology, but we have to be aware of our own because we're a player in this game. We're not just a passive observer.
I didn't even think of that. That's good perspective.
So I think that's even more critical
Yeah.
than seeing other people, is being able to recognize where your nervous system is at any given moment.
That's good. I didn't even think of that. That's cool. Kind of backtrack a little bit. Have you ever been on the stand question like, oh, so like try to question who you are with your psychology and be like,
No.
and they'll be like, yeah, well, I have a master's in psychology. And the defense attorney just like defeated.
No, I would actually love that. They'd probably just shit and be like, wait, what?
Exactly. I think it would be so cool to happen. And then within you guys in general, I think with cops in general, we see what we're seeing, and it's really hard. Like we make the right decision a lot of times. I mean, we get all the bad ones that blow up on social media and the news and stuff within the media, but cops are making those decisions on a daily basis, and more than likely they're right. But when we try to type it out, it's like there's a disconnect from what we see, why we did it, to being able to be like, this is why I did it. And
Right.
it's I mean, even for me, but I mean, as time goes on, I think it's something that I wish there was a way to bridge that gap, and I really don't know how.
I think again, it goes back to like you being able to connect with internally how you're feeling, right? Number one, because like we are allowed a lot of latitude for officer safety if you can articulate what's going on with you internally, because like we're different people, right?
Yep.
So like the threat that you see is not going to be the same threat that I see for all the different reasons, like your background, like how you're feeling today. Are you injured? Like did I pull a hamstring yesterday at training? All those things. Like those are all factors that separate your experience from mine. So you have to be able to articulate how you are feeling and how you're perceiving things. And if you can't do that because you have no like barometer internally as to how you're feeling, then like it's going to be harder to put those things into words. I mean, it's literally like what stuff you work on in counseling. It's like, well, how are you feeling about this? Like people make fun of it and stuff, but at the same time, it's like, well, you need to know how to explain that and move it from here, just feelings and somatic stuff, into verbal.
Right.
And that's the difference between writing a report that is going to be totally fine, especially with use of force, or giving an interview that's totally fine with a shooting or something like that, versus something where it's like, I'm confused here. Help me understand more. Like one of those where it's like, you know what I mean?
We did a podcast with it's Police Law News on Instagram or whatever, and he's a retired Albuquerque cop, and he did like he got his he became a lawyer while he was there, and he did a lot of like the in-house like officer involved shootings and stuff as IA. But he's like I would ask specific questions because I would see that gap in there. And he's like, I know what they did and I know why they did it, but when they're typing or when they're giving the statements, it's like it's just missing that part. And he's like, I know. He's like, so when I was doing these interviews, I wasn't trying to get you like to say something to perjury or get you in trouble.
Right.
I need these little details that you're not providing.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. You ever been in a traumatic incident like that?
I've been in 2 police action shootings with people, and I had one more that was like a hostage rescue where I had to shoot a bunch of dogs off a girl.
Oh, man.
So that was maybe crazier than the 2 shootings, but yeah.
I love dogs, so that's kind of disheartening.
Yeah.
The dogs were attacking the girl?
Yeah.
Little girl, but like a
She
woman?
was probably 20, 18,
Oh, wow.
something like that.
Like random loose dogs or like her dogs?
No, we actually served a warrant on the house, and they had real aggressive pit bulls inside, and the dogs went berserk and started ripping the owner's legs apart.
Jeez.
So basically, like the 2 guys that I was on point with, I was like, because we were doing that breach and delay, and people came out, and all of a sudden we hear like screaming inside. It's like, dude, something's happening. Like those dogs are going nuts. I think they're killing that girl. So we made like hasty entry, like active shooter style, and ended up seeing 2 gigantic pit bulls just ripping this girl's legs apart. So then I stepped up and shot one of them, and then it charged at us. So we shot that 2 or 3 more times. The guy next to me shot a 12 gauge, put it down. And then you know how dogs, like when they hear loud sounds, will usually run away.
Yeah.
The other dog didn't miss a beat, didn't stop eating the girl. So then I had to step over the dead dog and shoot the other dog off of her legs. It was fucking nuts, man.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I've never even heard that
Yeah.
story.
It was nuts.
That is insane.
And I was just on like a drug raid. I was like,
Wow.
didn't see that coming today.
What do you feel that having a master's in psychology helps you deal with those a little bit better? Like to more self-reflection on how I am right now emotionally after the fact?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't hurt. But just having a degree, like, I don't know, it gives you a little bit more, like, you understand like what tools to use in different things, but it still doesn't, like, you still have to do the work. And like, and that's one thing that they do, and I haven't been through this, but anybody that gets counseling degrees or licensures, I think, I'm not sure if that's, I know in the degree field, when you go get like a mental health counseling degree, you do a lot of work on yourself because it's an easy test subject to go through all these different skill sets on. So you kind of go through like a psychology boot camp on yourself with different techniques and interview stuff like that. So, I mean, it definitely doesn't hurt any. But what I think really helps is like, again, like I'm gonna say it again, and I'll probably get stupid saying it, but like understanding where your nervous system is.
Right.
Because like when you talk about post-trauma, like traumatic events, like anxiety, it's all nervous system. Like there's cognitive stuff too, and like you have to work through like different stuff with that. It's not all of it, but like a big chunk of it and a big chunk of the feelings, like the anxiety, is based on nervous system regulation. So if you can get yourself to go from a sympathetic state to a parasympathetic state, or start to work yourself down, that's what a lot of counseling is for. That's like EMDR, like stuff like that. Like, we're going to put you in a sympathetic state, work you back out of it, so then we can give you control of it when it happens. So understanding that, but also stuff like little stuff, like more usable stuff in the moment. Like after, like we had a hostage rescue one time. This was like 2016, and I've been cleared of all this, so I think I can talk about it. But
Not, let me know. We'll get rid of this.
yeah, no, this is fine. This
Okay.
one was like so cut and dry. It was silly. So we had a standoff. We had a hostage barricade with a I don't know if he's like 36 years old white guy who took his own son hostage. So he was all smoking spice. That was when spice was real big, like doped out of his mind. And he was convinced that baby mama cheated on him and the kid wasn't his. So he took him hostage, and there was protective orders, all that kind of stuff. So she calls us out and says he's in there, he won't come out. He's got a knife, he's threatening to kill the kid. So we have a big long standoff. Ends up, make entry. I was first through the door, and he was right in the living room trying to stab the kid. So I got the first shot off, and then the guy next to me, we kind of cut an angle. Had to shoot over the kid.
How old was the baby?
3.
Oh my God.
So ended up pulling him back, and then he ended up dying. But I remember afterwards, like, it's kind of like a sporting event or like a big workout. Like if you ever do CrossFit, especially, like I competed in CrossFit like for a while, and it felt like that. And it's like, okay, so usable stuff right now. Like you have a massive sympathetic like experience, right? Physically, emotionally, mentally. Like, what do you need to bring down all that cortisol? Like, you need insulin, right? So if you add insulin into it, it'll start to lower the cortisol. So that means like carbohydrates. So if you can eat some carbohydrates, right? Because all I wanted was pancakes. Like, I was like, because it was all night long, and it was morning. I was like, been up all night. I just had this thing happen. It's super surreal, and all I want is as many carbs as I can get. So I want some freaking pancakes, and that was the big thing. So it was like, okay, cool. Like I ate like tons of pancakes, and then went to sleep for like 18 hours.
Wow.
But just to know, like, all right, after a big experience like that, you have to know a little bit about physiologically what's going on. So like cortisol is going to go through the roof, stress hormone is going to go through the roof. So how do we start to downregulate that? And you do that through understanding your nervous system, but also your physiology. So if you can start to connect some of those dots, then you can start to like regulate yourself a lot better.
That makes sense. That's so that's almost like just when you have that huge adrenaline dump.
Yes.
And then you come down, and
Yes.
it's like your whole body's like almost like fatigued, like completely
Right.
exhausted.
Yep.
I didn't know that. And so you need
Yeah.
carbs to bring it back up.
So
I never knew that.
If you and this is like the dummy version. So somebody's
Yeah, I
gonna
gotcha.
look at this and go, well, that's not exactly right. It's like, well, it's not exactly right. You're correct. But like that's something like post workout, right? Let's say like jujitsu, CrossFit, super glycolytic stuff. Like your cortisol goes up, right? It's a workout, stress, sympathetic. Cortisol goes up. And then part of the reason you take a like post workout afterwards is to start to lower, start to input insulin into it, carbs and protein, and that's going to start to lower your cortisol. Because we want cortisol during the events because it helps us get through it. But if we have chronically elevated cortisol, that's really bad. right? That ends up being inflammation, like why people can't lose weight, water retention, like lack of fat loss, like all that kind of stuff comes with chronically elevated levels of cortisol, adrenal fatigue, like all bad stuff. So part of the reason that we want carbs and protein post-workout is to start to bring it down. So if you can look at yourself like an athlete on the street and be like, I just had a chase and a fight, right? I'm all shaky and jittery. I probably need some carbohydrates, because I just dealt with all those stress hormones and that cortisol is super, super high. So maybe I should eat some carbs and try to bring them back down, right? Because the insulin then goes up and they're on opposing ends. Like cortisol goes up, insulin goes down, insulin goes up, cortisol goes down.
That's crazy. I never knew that. My entire life. That's intriguing. And then we kind of started talking about the CrossFit gym. When did you start doing that? Well, so you competed like on a national level, like the Rogue CrossFit. Was that Rogue? I don't know.
Yes, I think I can say national level. I think I can say that. So dude, I feel so old talking about this shit. But all right. So 2007, I got on, and then I won our department. We have our academy like top fitness award, so I won that in the academy. And I had some FTOs that were like, hey, you should check out CrossFit. And I was like, never heard of it, right? Because it was like brand new. It came online in like 2004. And so I start looking it up, and I'm like, oh, this looks pretty cool. It was all grassroots, cops, military, firefighters. It was all just like, tactical fitness-based stuff. I was like, this is freaking awesome. So I started doing that. No gyms around. And then 2012, I think it was, in 2012, before that, it was 2010. So I started looking into getting certified. And Indianapolis had an awesome setup. They had, it's called Indy Shield, and it was a non-for-profit CrossFit affiliate. And I was like, I want to do this here. So I got our department to send me down and get certified as a CrossFit level 1 instructor. And the idea was that I'm going to start to build this here, for our department. And worked pretty well. I was in narcotics at the time, so we ended up using seized funds. I worked with the captain over there, who was great. And he was like, yeah, we use all these seized funds. You can get this thing going. It's really cool that you want to do this. Super supportive. And like anything, sometimes people's egos get involved, and I'm a new guy and I've got this one little card that I hold, and sometimes people just want to have all the cards, right? and it kind of got changed, right? And I kind of got pushed to the side with it, and I was like, okay, well, it's disappointing. I did a lot of work for this, but I'm still trained, I'm still certified, like I still have the desire to do it, and it needs to be done. So I went and started with a buddy of mine. We just took what we were doing for free and started a gym in a shitty little garage. So we started our own affiliate, and then that ended up growing from 12 dudes on the department to 80, 100 people. That was like 50-50 cops and other people, and like civilians, which was super cool. And then I ended up buying my partner out, and then growing that to about 250 members, and we had a 10,000, 11,000 square foot facility, and it was something where I was like, I think I'm going to do this full time once I get done with being a cop. So in the midst of all that, I was doing competing at the regional level, which back in the day, like it was like the CrossFit Open was like you pay your $5 or whatever, and everybody does the online thing. And then this top 60 qualify for regionals, which is like 6 states or 8 states or whatever, like your region. And then so I went to that. I think I finished like 16th one year. And then we took like 5 to the CrossFit Games, which is like the big international competition you see on TV.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So I was like a second tier
national
guy. So
we did
it was fun though.
Yeah, we did it for a while. We used to have in our building we had some Fed offices, and those guys were huge into it. So we would jump in and do workouts. It's nice having the gym that we do in our facility, because every morning we got 5 to 10 guys in there working out. And it's cool because it's not like it's cops, so you can bullshit about cop things, and nothing against the other gyms, but a lot of times if people know you're a cop, they want to like linger around you and ask you questions about stuff, and you just kind of want to work in there, get in and get out.
Yeah.
So it's a little nicer to keep it in house.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did it for a while. No one really does it as much anymore.
Yeah.
Fucked up my shoulders really bad.
So, dude, there's pros and cons to it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
If I had to start a gym today, it would look drastically different from the one I had, started in, 2013. It would look way different than that. So
What happened with the gym?
no, just from like the training style and the methodology and stuff like that. Like nothing against CrossFit methodology. It's really good for a lot of things. But it's the way that most gyms now, and that's the thing, like I used to tell people like selling memberships, like, all right, we're going to go check out a few other gyms. I was like, do it. Like be a good consumer,
Right.
like go check out every CrossFit gym in the area and see which one you like best. But be a good consumer, right? So know what you're looking at. Like movement matters, mechanics matter. Like you can't just go 100 miles an hour every day throwing barbells around and think you're not going to get hurt. You will, right? The CrossFit Games are really good for bringing awareness to fitness. Like it's reshaped every big box gym you go into. There's turf, there's pull-up bars, there's bumper plates. There was never any of that before. CrossFit changed all that, so that's been really positive. But the overuse of intensity and the lack of training on movement has led to a lot of orthopedic problems, and I've been one of them, right? So like between football damage and then CrossFit damage, like those compound for me anyway.
Yep.
And so like if you don't train movement as practice, like you practice moving, like knowing how to hinge, knowing how to squat, knowing how to push, knowing how to pull, knowing how to load things appropriately, knowing how to use intensity as a specific dose, not a default for everything you do. Like that's something that inside of like tactical communities, like especially like SWAT, military, police in general, but like, people see like Navy SEAL workouts and it's like train until you puke. Like, all right, that has its place. But you try to do that at 40, you ain't gonna last, man. You can do that at 20 for a little bit, but like it is not a sustainable way to do things. But you have to use it as like, I was just telling somebody this the other day. You have to use intensity as like medicine, right? You dose it like once or twice a week, right? That's it. Okay, and then you use other energy systems in other places. It's like vitamin C is really good, but if you take a shitload of it, you're gonna be on the toilet with diarrhea. So like you can't overuse it or you will burn yourself out. And that goes back to that conversation about elevated cortisol. Like that's part of it too. Like you'll fuck yourself up.
No, that makes sense. But you said you got rid of the gym?
Yeah, so COVID was a disaster, and it basically like destroyed everybody's gyms. And I wasn't the only one. Like it was awful. Like it took your revenue to zero. Like from like doing great, like top of the world. Like if going back, if it's like 2020 hindsight, I would have sold that thing a year before COVID and then like later, But yeah, it took it from the best it ever was to like nothing. And then on the back end of that, I kind of figured, all right, there's going to be like a New Year's boom where everybody's going to want to get back into the gym because that's how I felt. Like I was like, let's go. Mm-hmm. And didn't happen. It was real strange. It was like a real slow burn to get things back going. And then I was like, I realized where I was at personally, emotionally with everything. And I was like, I don't have the bandwidth for where I'm at now to rebuild this like I did when it was new. I don't have it, right? Yep. My overhead is too much. Everything was too much. So I actually fell into a pretty good spot where one of my members, when I was like, hey, I announced I was going to close it and just sell the pieces. Because at that point, like a Rogue Echo bike was going for like $3,000. It was crazy how much like the equipment was going for. So I was like, screw it, I'm just going to sell all the equipment. And then one of my members was like, well, hey, I want to buy it. So we worked it out, and I was like, okay, this is fair. Like, it's yours. So we did this little progressive buyout where then he transferred it over, changed the name, and made it his thing. And it's still going pretty good from what I understand.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that didn't like just fall off the face of the earth after that.
It could have gone a lot worse, and I know for a lot of people it did go worse. But yeah, I got kind of lucky with it. Thank God for that.
That was the craziest time.
It was outrageous. It was totally outrageous. So funny story with that, not to like caveat too much, but during COVID, right, there was very specific rules about what you could do and what you could not do. And like businesses could be open if they sold food, but they couldn't be open if they had services, if they were non-essential, all that stuff, right? So I was like, cool. Like, we're open to sell food, and the gym is there. Like, I'm not going to stop you, if you choose to work out, but we're not open. I was following the rules, right? But if you want to come buy protein powder, like, you're more than welcome to, per the guidelines, right? I get a call from state excise, one of my buddies, and he was like, "Hey, your gym's open, and we need you to stop being open. This is not the rules." And I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Well, we got a report from a hotline that your gym is open." And I go, "What hotline are you talking about, man?" And he goes, "Listen, man, we're just giving you a warning." I go, "Whoa. I go, "You can't give me a warning based on an anonymous tip. Like, what's this person's name? Did they give you your name? Like, who is it?" They're like, "Well, it comes through the state on a website, and they reported you as violating the rules." I was like, "This is insane." I go, "Okay." I go, "So what happens if I say I'm not saying I am breaking the rules, because I'm not, but say that I continue to do whatever it is I'm doing, what's my penalty?" They were like, "We don't know." I go, "Okay." I go, "All right, so like, what, you have to tell me what the penalty is, because maybe it's worth it to me to just take the penalty. If it's a $20 fine, I'll fucking pay it. I don't care. If it's $1 million fine, then all right, I'll rethink it."
Right.
But I was like, "Well, what statute are we running off of here?" And he goes, "I don't know." I go, "Dude, you can't do that." I go, I said, "What you got was an anonymous tip, right?" He was like, "Yes." I said, "So did you corroborate this? Did you do any surveillance? Did you do any police work?" Like, "No." I go, "Then you can't do any of this." I go, "What is wrong with you?" I was like, he was like, "Let me talk to my lieutenant." And I had the same conversation with him. I'm like, if you don't have a statute, you haven't corroborated a tip, you haven't done any police work, you can't have this conversation with me, man. Like, this is ridiculous. And going back to what we started with Greg Anderson, like, that's what he was talking about. Like, you still have to do your job the way it's supposed to. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
That is crazy. I felt like Indiana was one of the states that was not as bad as others, but I'd never, like, that type of stuff.
We weren't as bad because it stopped there, right? In like California, like, I knew people that had gyms, and the cops were going in to shut them down. And it's like, why did you let them in? I even had conversations with my employees where I was like, "We are not taking new members. If you're here and you're working out, like, that's allowed. We're not taking new members. Nobody that comes in that you don't know. If a cop in uniform comes to the door, you don't let them in. Like, you don't let anybody in. Like, these are the rules. We're operating within the rules. If they want to come in, make them get a warrant." So there's no way they'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
We get a warrant for a gym here, like, nobody's gonna sign that.
So after that one conversation, that was it, though?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And then, but still, even with that going on, people were just afraid because of
Yeah.
COVID, so they weren't.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was one good thing about the PD. I loved it, like, so we could still work out and stuff, like, and that was I don't know, crazy time, because I'm like, what else do we? I don't know. You look at it, it's like, let's not let these people work out in a time when supposedly a disease attacks their, I don't know, like, it's just, like, why not keep people healthy in this situation when it was been proven that people that are overweight have already pre-existing elements are the ones that are most susceptible of having the worst side effects from it. Yet we're going to say no more working out for you for the next year or more.
Yes.
For an undetermined amount of time.
Yes.
Like, crazy, man.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, that sucks about your gym, though.
Yeah.
Was it good? Like,
no, it was good. Like, big picture, it was good. Like, it was, sometimes I look at it and I'm still sad to see it go. Like, not having that role as the owner and having that business and that opportunity, like, for future growth and stuff. But yeah, it was what needed to happen in order to move on to, like, other things. So,
what are you doing now outside of? Let's talk about this. What keeps you sane with the job that we have? Like, what entertains you outside of the work that you can keep your mind stress free? What
entertains me outside the job? Mm-hmm. Well, I got the online stuff I'm running now with my current business. So basically, I took the mission that I started my physical gym with, and I kind of, like, evolved that into, like, an everybody gym, right? CrossFit Tactical Strength became, like, more like everybody, mm-hmm. 250 people, whatever. Now I get to go back and start to, like, rebuild from the ground up. What I wanted to do was help first responders, cops, military, tactical athletes in, fitness and mental health and strength and conditioning, right? So now I do that with Heroic Industries, do that online. I've got, different coaching packages that I do, workouts all remote. Like, I've got a school group. School's a really cool app. It's like a little online training platform with like a Facebook style feed that you can post and comment, post videos and crap like that.
What's that called?
School, SKOOL. Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
have to check it out.
but yeah, I'll add you to the group. I got a free group there, and then it's got a classroom tab that's got different courses in it. You can put whatever courses you want, and then like live weekly Zooms and stuff like that. So I'll teach stuff online.
So do you make programs for individuals, or is it an overall thing? So if I said I wanted to jump in here, I want a class that will help me, I don't know, get a bigger chest. Like,
Yeah.
will you design classes for individuals, or is
Yeah.
it more of like a?
So I've got a couple. I've got like a general group program that's like super cheap. It's kind of like basic, like CrossFit.com, but it's not CrossFit. It's like a little bit more than that. It's like it's more like conjugate style, like strength and conditioning. So you have like 4 days of lifting a week with conditioning work in there, but it's very general. It's very basic. 2 max effort days and 2 dynamic effort days a week. But so that's a general program. It's really cheap. It's like $7 a month, something stupid, and that just covers the software cost. So it's basically free. So, but then if you want more than that, if you wanted like a specific for you program, like I do that too.
Do you do diets or anything like
Yeah.
that?
So it's all included. Like I won't work with you if you just want one piece of it. Like it's all like it's everything.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then married, kids, anything like that?
Yeah. 4 kids. Yeah. So
Big
like
family.
yeah, with 4 of us, and then
What's the oldest? What's the youngest?
so 16 to 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the 16-year-old, you said play football?
Yeah.
Any other athletes in the family, or?
Yeah. My daughter's a cheerleader, and then my younger 2 are 9 and 6, so they run around doing everything. So.
Football?
Yeah. So my 10-year-old's just getting into football.
Flag or tackle?
He did his first year of tackle football.
Okay.
So. I don't
What's
know.
your personal opinion? I don't know. Might get too personal. What do you think about it?
About what? 10-year-olds playing tackle football?
With helmets and the hitting and.
All right. So like, I think it's totally unnecessary. I think there's no reason that you have like any kid under 5th grade, 6th grade playing tackle football. It's totally unnecessary. However, from a safety standpoint, like it's not really a danger issue.
Because they can't get the
They
momentum.
can't, right. I mean, you can't produce the force to make the impact to cause any damage, right? So like, aside from getting a kid like get his knee rolled up on or something like that, like which doesn't happen very often either. It's not a big deal. So like, I was always on the fence with it. My oldest son, he's doing pretty good in varsity football. He's like he's a junior, but this is his 2nd year of varsity that he started. So he's
What
doing
position?
running back.
Oh, nice.
So he's doing pretty well for himself, and he never played a snap before 5th grade. Like, not even interested. So it's like, you do not need it. There's plenty of cases of people not playing till high school, and they do fine. They go on to play in the pros. So it's totally unnecessary to have kids padded up prior to that. But,
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't have kids, but I see it, and I'm like, if you wanted your kid to understand the fundamentals, I think like flag football would be just fine. I mean, because you're understanding like the vernacular, passing, catching, blocking without like.
well, that depends on the program too.
Okay.
Because like my 6-year-old's in flag, and in the same program as the 10-year-old tackle, and they didn't teach him anything. Like I watched that, and it was like, I'm gonna throw up, right? Because like I've got a pretty extensive football background, and I'm coaching varsity for my son's high school. Like I'm their head strength coach too,
Oh, cool.
which takes up a lot of my time, and is an awesome job that I do for totally free and all year round too.
That's cool.
But I have a lot of fun with that. So I help with the running backs too. So when I go and I see these lower level teams playing, and I'm like, dude, you guys are you're doing nothing but bad things to these kids,
Bad habits, teaching them bad habits at a young age. Pretty
Yeah.
much. I got you.
Well, and just wasting time.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? My question to parents is always like, why are you doing this? Well, and it usually boils down to like, well, we want to win. It's like, I understand that. Like, everybody wants to win, right? And I'm not like, everybody gets a trophy. kind of guy.
Yeah. Same.
But at the same time, you need to have a serious question with yourself when you're a parent. When do you want your child to peak? And too many parents are like, I want my child to peak right now because they want instant gratification. Like, they don't even realize it. But it's like, okay, you're freaking out over like the CYO program, right? right? Catholic Youth Organization, where we're at.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
That's so. So that program just baffles me, because it's like all these coaches and parents just want to win the championship. It's like, you really want your kid just to peak in 6th grade? Like, that's how important this is to you. You will do anything you can to peak in 6th grade and win this CYO championship. And the answer is like, whether they're saying it with their words or not, is yeah. It's like, that's insane. That's totally crazy.
That is.
Like, you want your kid, if you're worth a crap, like, you want your kid to peak at like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, something like that, where it's like, all right, this is going to be the top of the top of wherever level you're going to be at, whether it's college or pro or whatever level of college you can get to, like, or even if it's high school.
Right.
Like, you want your kid peaking as a senior so he can have the best senior year possible, right?
Yeah.
So like, you don't want to burn it up at 15 years old, quitting and not like.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, that's the biggest problem I see with starting pads and stuff too early. Is like, when are you trying to peak, man? Like,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Your wife an athlete?
No.
Okay. Like encompasses your life completely. Interesting. What's your wife do?
No, she's a nurse.
Okay. And then how did you end up meeting her? Is she from this general area or?
Oh, at college.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Is she from that general area?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that why you kind of stayed in that general area?
Well, it just happened that I got hired in the same spot,
Okay.
so I just stuck around.
Were you guys open to moving if there's someone else further away offered you a
I
position?
mean, I was. I don't know how that would have worked out, but.
That's cool. Any scholarships for your son yet? Any letters of?
No, that's dude, that's an interesting game as far as like recruiting in
Imagine.
colleges. Everything's on Twitter, everything's on social media, you know. A lot of pressure. Like, there was a lot of pressure like when we were in high school about like, you know, where you're going to college,
Mhm.
like that kind of stuff. But it wasn't like this constant barrage of every day, like comparing yourself to other athletes like online and having to get like, you know, who's following who's liking your posts, like what recruiters are you talking to on X. It's
Wow.
like, oh man, it's like never ending. And they get you so wrapped up in the fact, like, if you're not recruited as a junior, like, you're not going to be recruited. And it's like, okay, well, that might be true for like Power 5 athletes, and
Yeah.
like, you know, but it's kind of like, dude, it almost feels like you're talking about like my daughter danced for a while, and it was like the little dance numbers. Everybody gets like super high platinum, like the highest of the high, and you're like, how many platinum levels are there? It's like, that's literally everybody gets trophies. Now it's like the same thing with football, where it's like, oh yeah, he's a 5-star recruit. It's like, well, who's not a 5-star recruit? I don't even know what this crap means. But anyway, so like the really, really good, like clearly D1 guys, those guys are getting taken off the table early, right? Like junior year. But that was the same as when we were playing.
Yeah.
Like, that still happened. So that's why I had to explain to them. I'm like, listen, like, you might not be at that level, but like, you can still get a scholarship.
Right.
Those, like, all the other stuff is not really, like, people don't know where they're going until they're done with their senior year.
So-
Most people.
Does he have to almost like market himself as like an athlete on like put videos and stuff on X?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a completely different game.
Yeah, so they have the this website Huddle, where it's like,
I've seen
yeah, so you keep all your game tapes are in there, everything, right? So it's basically an encyclopedia, just an archive of all your game tapes. So after every game, or at the end of the season, you can go through and cut it and put all your highlights into a highlight reel. So you can do all your own editing and stuff. Versus like when we were in high school, it was like VHS tapes,
Yeah.
moving stuff around. Like, making a highlight tape was like a production.
I remember
So-
the coaches used to have to like exchange like 2 previous
Yeah,
game tapes. You
yeah.
know? Like they would go be another coach and exchange game tapes and stuff. I was like, this is crazy.
It'd be like a dope deal.
Yeah.
You'd have to exchange, like, meet at a neutral site, and they're like, here's the bag, and 1, 2,
Yeah.
3 switch. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we try to keep this about an hour, and we're at like an hour and 12 minutes. Anything you want to talk about? Anything we didn't cover?
I don't know, man.
How about this? If you had to give someone advice, either on the fitness or the psychology aspect, as a new cop or a young cop that's going through some stuff, what would you say would be the best avenue of that, besides joining your platform?
I would say, like, that you can't you can't separate like physical health and mental health. Like you can't separate it, right? So like if you say that like, oh, I need to work on my mental health, but you're like super overweight and like smoke and drink all the time, like you don't really care about your mental health because you're proving it with your physical health. So you have to attack both and make sure that you really have a handle on both. And to me, the lowest hanging fruit is always physical health, because like, say you need to make an appointment with, I don't know, a psychologist, let's say, right? You need to go to a counselor. That's going to take a process of finding a number, making an appointment, getting that appointment 3-4 weeks out, so you're talking like 4 to 6 weeks. Also, you can go ahead and say, all right, like I feel like crap, I'm super anxious, I just went through some stuff, let's say. Maybe if I focus on just like getting a good night's sleep and drinking water, then I'll feel better. And you can start to make progress in your mental health immediately right now. Physical health is like the lowest hanging fruit. You can choose to have a better meal the next time you eat, because you're going to eat 2-3 times a day, right? At least.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can make better choices right now in real time, and it's going to impact you in the next day, in the next hour, right?
Yeah.
So that impact on mental health is like undeniable. So understanding, you just have to understand more, right? You have to understand more about yourself physically and mentally and emotionally, right? So like you have to understand like how to train, how to eat, and then how all of this kind of affects you as a person. And that's hard to do if you're just kind of guessing at it. So that's why it's like, never stop training. Like we taught, like you're a trainer, right? You go and teach things, right?
Yeah.
I am too. Like why is that important? Why did we think that that's important? Like why is it important for me to coach my kids' football teams, right? Because like you have to provide the training for other people as they're coming up through the process. Because you can't skip that part. Like when you just put it on just autopilot, it usually doesn't go well.
I agree. And I think like my agency having a community that works out, basically, that's how I look at it. It's a small community, maybe it's a quarter of the police department but I know every day if I go to the gym, 25% of that, maybe say there's going to be 5 guys in there, but maybe 5 guys are working out in the afternoon too. So like you look at that and then like if you're not there, you're almost held accountable. Like, hey, you okay today? Because like they know it's almost like a routine that you should be here at least 3 days a week or something. So having that type of community in the fitness world, I guess, is huge. If you're out there on the lone, like working in a small department and no one's into fitness and you don't know where to start, but you're getting destroyed physically and mentally, it's kind of hard to have that foot in the door. So maybe $7.99 a month will get you in that door. You have a community that you're responsible to, instead of just trying to do it on your own.
Well, and that's what's cool about that school platform is like, you get into that and all of a sudden there's, a group of 100 cops that are all looking to do the same thing, and some firefighters thrown in there too. But like, I mean, one of the chicks that's in that group, she works for a department way south, right, another state. And she just had a shooting, I think July, that she was on admin for, and she was kind of struggling with it. It was nice to be like, hey, I've been through that too. Like, here's what I've been through, and you kind of, combine stories and then help her through that. But also like help her with her training and the time that she's off and through the investigation. And then she reaches out, like 3-4 days ago, and was like, hey, some other dudes on my shift just dumped a guy, and I'm starting to like have some weird feelings. It's like, what's going on? Like I didn't see this coming. So it's nice to have a resource or a place that you can go and be like, I don't understand why. And it's not like, and this is where we kind of screw things up with like, well, someone to talk to. You need somebody to talk to. It's like, well, yeah, but venting is never really effective, right? You need to go somewhere and get some actionable steps as to like, all right, here's why you're feeling this way, and here's what to do about it. Because if you don't answer those questions, it just ends up like you just kind of like wallow in self-pity and grossness,
Yeah. No, yeah, and the stuff that I've only had one really traumatic incident as a cop. Well, for me, and having my buddy that's a psychologist, I know that he can't like theoretically see me. So as friends, like back in the day, our department didn't have any type of platform. Like you had to do it basically on your own. Literally, I went to one of my bosses and I said, "Hey, this is real fucking me up," and he's like, who cares, he's a piece of shit. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work for me. Like, I'm like, that didn't, that, I was like, okay.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
I'm seeing that this is not going to go the route that I want. So then I reached out to my buddy. I'm like, listen, I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, can I just talk to you? So like getting it out of here, out of my mouth, and having someone sit there. And he's like, I was like, listen, if you say, hey, you just need to go see someone, I know what that means. You know what I'm saying? Or something along those lines. You don't have to like tell me what I should do or anything like that, because I don't want there to be a conflict of interest. And you get in trouble with your medical license. But I was like, just let me vent, kind of, and getting it out. It really did help me, and he didn't give me any advice. Just sat there, not passing judgment, kind of just letting me like talk through my emotions. So I don't know. I kind of contradict what you said. I didn't mean to.
Well, that's not. That doesn't just it doesn't contradict it though, because I'm sure that your buddy who's a psychologist, when you said that, like I'm sure he was like using active listening. Like regardless, he's not giving you counseling, right?
Yeah.
But he's being your friend, and he has a set of skills that's gonna. It'd be like if you were like, hey man, like my knee really hurts. I just need somebody to talk to about it. And you told me, and it's like, all right, well tell me what your workouts have been like, and I've been like, all right, well, do you think maybe like you should squat like with your knees out a little bit more, or maybe sit back to a box or something like that? Like I'd give you the answers without giving you answers. So,
Right.
like it's not just like venting. So if you're having a problem with your wife and I just need somebody to vent to, and I'm just like, yeah, and I validate like you because I like you and I don't know your wife, right?
Yeah,
so like that doesn't help anybody.
Right. Yeah,
Right. So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like, well, do you have anyone to talk to? Well, yeah, that's a good, I guess, platitude. But at the same time, like, there's got to be some actionable things that happen with it, or it just becomes like venting and validating, and then like it doesn't move you anywhere.
Right.
Like, you still feel like shit.
Yep.
You know.
I got you. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. One question. This is my personal question. What do you think about cold plunges?
Cold plunges. All right. So like, I'm glad that you asked this.
I fucking love them.
So there's a lot of research, or people that say there's research now that say cold plunges are not really effective for stuff like recovery, right? And they actually blunt things like hypertrophy, like if you're trying to get muscle and gain muscle, and like strength and stuff like that. Like if you cold plunge directly after a workout, like it will mitigate results. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So like Dr. Mike, what's his name from RP? He's been talking about it.
Breakfast, huge.
Well, just saying like cold plunges aren't all they're cracked up to be.
Okay,
so there's more people that are saying like anti-cold plunge now.
Okay.
Which is true. However, like you have to, everything's a tool, right? So here's what I really like about cold plunges. As much as they might blunt like hypertrophic response, they might blunt some muscle growth at certain points during like close to your workout. What they do really well is they allow you to work on nervous system regulation. Yeah. So like you get into the ice and you cannot help but go straight sympathetic, right? You're going to start shaking and hyperventilating and go into this state, and it's going to feel like, to me, it feels like a car chase just started, right? That's kind of how I was like, okay, so here we go. Like he's running. That's how it feels every single time. And the goal with a cold plunge, to me, should be to regulate your nervous system, nasal breathe as quickly as possible, take yourself to a level 10 sympathetic response down to like a 3 or a 4 where you can just chill for about 2 to 3 minutes and then get out, right?
Yep, that's about the first 30. I do about 3 minutes and 35 seconds because I know the time. Like that first 30 seconds is brutal, and then after that, it's almost like I don't know what happens, but you could just maintain it. It's crazy, and I could probably stay in a little bit longer, but I give it that 3 to about 5 minutes.
There's not really, from what I understand, and especially the way that I use cold plunges, like there's not really a point to staying in longer. Like 2, 3, 4 minutes, anywhere south of 5, right? That's what I usually say.
5 is usually where I'm at the max.
Is like, all right, why are you staying in for longer than that? It's kind of like your nervous system's regulated as much as it's going to be, and to me, that's the point. Like I like to think 10 to 20 breaths, and I should be done, right? And your first 5 or 6 are going to be like, and then calm yourself down and just kind of navigate the cold, right? Navigate your nervous system and sit there and just feel it, feel your nervous system coming up and going down. And that to me is like, it feels just like work, It feels just like coming up on a scene where it's like, I know I'm gonna fight that dude or chase that dude. Like I just know, and you feel that nervous system response. Okay, now I feel like I'm getting the ice as I'm approaching this. Now, like this is nervous system regulation, like 101. All right. I feel the sympathetic response, just like I'm getting in the ice. Do I want it or do I not want it? Right? Because sometimes you want it. Because it's like, nope. Like if he pulls a gun out, I want all the nervous system response that I can get sympathetically. Most like there comes a point of diminishing return, but like you want most of it, right? I want to be able to act quickly. I want my nervous system to do what it does so I can win this fight, right? But if there's no threat yet, if the fight's not there yet, and I'm just in a pat down, like I can't be so shaky. Like I have to take it from a 10 to an 8, right?
Yeah.
And then if I pat him down and there's no weapons, and I did a pretty good job, and I feel his nervous system and his muscle tension and all that, and I feel him not flinching and not doing the pre-attack indicators, then I can take my 8 to a 7, and then I can take my 7 to a 6, and I'll probably just stay there. You know what I mean? And I can choose that. But if he ramps back up, then I know I can ramp mine back up. And that's where like nervous system regulation and being able to do that in real time, that's what the ice really helps with.
I agree. It sucks in the summer because I'm too cheap to buy like something that maintains it. So I've tried everything in my power to. I bought a mini freezer. I put like 12 pounds of ice in there. I was making it. It still just wasn't working. So now that it's back cold up north again, I'm loving it.
Just keep it outside.
Pretty much that's all I do. I love it. I absolutely love it. I started last year. Me and my buddy talked about it for about 6 months, and then there's like 6 of us that all got the cheap ones, and now we're back doing it again. And I do it about an hour and a half after my workout because I know that there's it's probably even I should probably wait even longer, but
It depends. It depends if you want all of the response from your training for strength gain and muscle gain, then you should probably space it out a little bit more.
Okay.
But how much does that matter, right? So like the guys that say, well, space it out longer. Like, okay, well, I mean, are we talking about dudes training for the Olympia? Or are we talking about normal dudes that are like, whatever, man? Like you're kind of splitting hairs at that point.
Okay.
It becomes like, what are you using this thing for? If you're using it for nervous system regulation, and you're only in for 2 minutes. Like, how much is it really blunting muscle growth for you? I don't know. Probably not much.
I would think not much. But what is your throughout the day? Is there any type of longevity throughout the day that it helps you with?
From what I understand, based on Andrew Huberman's work, right, is that the dopamine uptake, right, the amount of dopamine your body creates is much higher and lasts longer throughout the day if you do a cold plunge early. And I've felt better, and I personally, this is anecdotal and stuff, but just my personal experience is that is the case. When I do cold in the morning, I feel better for longer. And it helps to kind of flush out some of those sleep hormones and all that kind of stuff. It helps you wake up, right? So that's what I use it for. Nervous system regulation, help me wake up, and then I feel tough afterwards too. So but there's something about that too, where it's you do it even though you don't want to do it. And I've never gotten in a cold plunge where I'm really looking forward to this. It's I don't really want to do it. It sucks for about the first minute, So do it anyway. There's something to be said about that. Doing stuff you don't want to do.
Post though, it feels amazing. As soon as I'm out, I'm it's and I feel the same way. I feel whatever it does throughout me personally, and I didn't know if there's a placebo effect.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I feel great. I mean, I feel better when I do it, opposed to when I don't do it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I won't be able to do it because I'm stuck here, so I'm gonna be. And I look at it I miss it until the moment it's I'm gonna go jump in that thing, and I'm no, I'm not. Fuck. It's so miserable. Leading in, I amp myself up leading into it for no reason.
So there's been some studies on cold showers versus systemic cold plunges, and it's you just have to be in the shower for longer.
Okay.
It's a 5-minute thing versus a 2-minute thing,
Okay.
And it really shows the same results. But there's so much. I don't want to say conflicting people talking about things, but I can't remember her name. Joanna something or other. I think she's Scandinavian, but she's got a ton of research about 13 minutes of cold exposure per week equals this, and this as far as longevity and stuff like that. And it's
I think I've read that or I've seen that.
Yeah.
I remember someone saying 13 minutes.
Right. That's 13 minutes a week, however you want to break it down, right? But even she was the podcast I listened to her, she was talking about that could be, it doesn't always have to be a 37 degree really cold. It could be 50. It could be 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there. It could be a cold shower here. It's just cold exposure. It's exposing yourself to stresses that we don't get exposed to because of convenience living that we have. You know, your body's meant for like you talked about with intensity with workouts, it's meant for microdoses of stress. You know, that's what keeps us alive. If we don't have any stress, we just kind of like get fat and like fall apart. We have too much stress, we get fat and fall apart. But if we have these like microdoses of stress response, that's when you gain muscle, like you do well, like your body's like, okay, I need to adapt for this and this and this and be ready for this and this, right? And then, you know, like as you change and grow and whatever, like, you know, like that's where if you ever stop training, right, you stop working out, stop lifting weights, your body will let that go, right? You won't keep that. It'll adapt to something different. And then you start lifting weights again and you're like, oh man, like I'm super sore, you know, like all these things are coming with lifting weights again. But it comes back really fast because your body already knows how to do it, and then it starts turning those things on, like turning those markers, those genetic markers on. Like, all right, we're lifting heavy stuff again. Now I need to make more muscle. You need to be heavier. Like here's the stress that we're doing. You've proven that it's happening again and again and again. Now I need to adapt to this to make sure that you don't die as an organism.
So I know this is even going on and on, but so if you work out as a young kid and stop, compared to never working out and then trying as like a 40-year-old man, you already have those muscle buds, so it's going to be easier?
I would assume, I don't know if there's been any like direct research of that, but yeah, so like genetics and epigenetics, right? So like you have genetic markers that you turn on based on what you do, right? So like, and then if you stop doing them, it shuts off, you know, and it doesn't always go away, but they kind of like, you know, just like if you lift weights, why do you get bigger, right? Because your genetic markers like are turning on, and they're saying like, okay, you're getting signaled, your body's now getting signaled that you need to be stronger, you're lifting heavy things, right? You need more muscle and more weight in order to support what you're doing structurally. And if you don't do that, if you just go run a bunch, why do you lose the muscle? Because you're not getting stimulated, you know, and your genetic markers are going to change based on that.
One more question, personal question. Your opinions on like peptides? Okay, good enough. That's a good enough answer for me.
Yeah. So that's like the coolest stuff now. Peptides, SARMs, hormone therapy. This is all like, those are all optimizers, right? So like it can do a lot of cool things, especially stuff like BPC 157, TB 500, you know, the HGH secretagogues, that kind of stuff. It's like really interesting, especially for careers where it's like, shift work is going to mess up your hormones. Like that's not a question. Like, oh, I think it'll be all right. Like you are screwed.
Yes.
Like if you don't sleep at nighttime, you're done. Like your hormones are a mess. So like, how do we navigate that? If you're not willing to give up the shift, you know that you're making unhealthy decisions, right? So is it appropriate for you to look into like, all right, my testosterone is in the toilet because of the shift I work and I'm not changing it. Is it appropriate, and this is like a question from you and your doctor, right? Is it appropriate for me to supplement with testosterone in order to get that back up to where it should be and optimize that range? And it's like, I don't know, maybe, but there's options for it, right? If you pull a hamstring or like have a surgery, like BPC 157, TB 500, and these peptides and stuff, like they will help, you know? Now, where you source it from is really important too, right? Because you can get gray market crap from all these different websites, and some of it's okay and some of it's not. You know, you just don't know. But a lot of the stuff you can get compounded through different pharmacies, and those are all good. But they're optimizers, and if you're not going to take the steps of like nutrition, sleep, training, they're not going to do anything real for you.
Yeah,
you know?
they're just a boost to everything else.
Like sleep, nutrition, and exercise, right? Those are steps 1, 2, 3, always. Okay. And then you look at like peptides, SARMs, maybe hormones, that kind of stuff. Then you're looking at steps like 8, 9, 10, you know, so there's a lot of stuff to do between these three and these three. So like, you know, and SARMs are even, that's like the Wild West too.
I've looked into BPC or BCP 157 and some of the other ones that basically, I forget what they're called, but they're basically convince your pituitary gland to promote like more HGH.
Yeah, they're the HGH secretagogues, so like tesamorelin, ipamorelin, CJC 1295, like stuff like that. Yeah.
The only sponsor that we have is Human Performance Therapy, and like basically it's a retired U.S. Air Marshal but he started his own thing. He has doctors that work for him. They work for all like the major, all telehealth basically. But yeah, I'm a huge believer in it. I don't take it. My testosterone, for whatever reason, I wanted it to be low for, so I'm like yes, and then it was like 719. I was like fuck, but Big Mike takes it, and you could just see a change in his personality, his physique. He's not as soft as he once was, and like his ability to like stay focused.
He's always been soft.
this is probably the leanest I've ever seen him. I'm like, man, and I had to ask him. I'm like, what are you taking? And he's like, oh, I've been taking. I'm like,
Yeah.
I could tell, man. Like he still works out and everything, but
Yeah.
he's lost like that like baby chubbiness that he's always
Yeah.
had.
Yeah, it's not like a catch-all, fix-all by any means. But especially once you get in your 40s, and especially if you're in a high-stress career like we are, like you should know what your hormones are doing. And then that kind of ties into what we already talked about too. Like you have to know your physiology. You have to know yourself. Like if you don't work with a doctor on this stuff, like and learn the numbers and learn what your numbers are doing, because your profile and my profile are going to be very, very different. There's going to be some stuff that's a constant because we're both adult male human beings, roughly the same age. But like the way that like your hormones go down certain pathways and convert differently than mine do, right? Just based on genetics, epigenetics, stuff that like stress, whatever, right? So that's where it's like, if you're going to go these routes, like you can't just like shotgun approach it yourself. Like that's stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
That's how you wind up with like doing all sorts of bad stuff to yourself. And then you got to hire a doctor to try to correct all the dumb shit that you did. And it's easy to do. Like you have to, I would say like, you have to work with a doctor. You have to get your blood work done. Like I've been on TRT for about 2 years. And before I did that, I did probably 4 years of trying to optimize it, right? Changing shifts, getting more sleep, changing my nutrition, doing all stuff. And I'm pretty good with this stuff. And I went even harder on it because I got my testosterone checked when I was working nights. It's like a mid shift. So I was working till like 3, 4 in the morning. So it wasn't even like a real night shift. It was like 132.
Damn, that's
Crazy
so
low.
low.
Crazy low. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to stay on this shift. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to do it. It's seriously impacting my health.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm out. So I went to days, and then all of a sudden it jumped back up to like 600, 700. And it was like, okay, where's that? But my free testosterone was still in the toilet, right? So,
See, that's what I need to figure out my free time.
well, that's the thing though. Like, you like my sex hormone binding globulin, right? My SHBG was super high, and that's tying up a bunch of the total testosterone, making the free testosterone really low.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, and that's just one part of this, right? So like you might not have any of those same issues, but we might have a total score that's the same. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's where the hormone profiles are different. And it's like, you can't just look at the total, because our totals probably were the same, but mine is different than yours. Why do I need it and maybe you don't?
Right.
And again, it's like a lot of it's based on symptoms too. So if you could have a hormone profile of 300 testosterone, but if your symptoms are none, then what does it matter?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who cares? You know, like,
I feel great. I mean, back on what I feel great. It was more me wanting some little extra to help me out.
but that's where maybe you could use some peptides, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're like, hey, so why do you want a little bit more? Like what? Like, all right, so there's a reason for that at 40. You know what? How old are you? 40, 41, 42?
42.
Okay.
I think
So
so.
it's like, yeah, there's a reason at 42. You're like, man, I want a little bit more. Why do you want a little bit more now versus like when you were like 22?
Recovery is one
Yeah,
goal.
because you don't. But there's a symptom then, right?
Yeah.
So you actually have a symptom.
Yeah, recovery is huge for me. Like even like fatigue. Like so.
Yeah.
Like not just muscle fatigue and being able to recover when I work out. It's also like I don't know, sleeping. I notice I sleep more, or I can fall asleep like sitting on the couch watching TV with the wife, and I'm like,
I'm just resting my eyes.
She's like, "Are you watching this?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Just resting my eyes. Yeah. So my kids always yell at me about it. But like, yeah, dude, those are like normal symptomatic changes as you age and you start to get a decline in the hormones. So it's like, all right, well maybe like testosterone replacement might not be appropriate, but maybe we can do, you know, testosterone, or maybe like some of the HGH secretagogues makes more sense, or maybe something else does. But that's where working with an actual doctor, like to read the numbers, look at the numbers, come up with an actual plan to optimize you, like that's where that works really well.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna when we have to get our blood work done once a year for our health insurance. And then after that, when I see my general practitioner, I'm gonna ask to have my blood work for my tests, and then probably give it to the guys down at like the human performance therapy.
Yeah, just make sure you get like full panels. There's a bunch of stuff that like you don't want to not check. You
Okay.
know.
We'll talk after this about that.
Yeah. But well, that's not one thing to know. It's like there's like total testosterone. That's usually what, if you just go to your general health practitioner, that's all they check. And if you're in range, they're like, you're good. But that's not the whole story. So like, you just got to do your homework on it.
Well, I appreciate you joining me on Beyond the Barrel. Yeah, we'll attach everything that you want so that people can find you. And then, you got anything else?
No, man, that's it.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it.
All right.